Hello, dear friends. This is Kira Rudik, member of Ukrainian Parliament and leader of the political party Holos. I'm speaking from Washington, D.C. So Ukraine has gotten a new commander-in-chief. However, the protests on the streets continue. Meanwhile, the US Senate may vote for the Russia sanctions bill just before the summer recess. We will talk about all of this today, but before we start, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and leave a comment. I really appreciate reading them and replying to them, which gives me a way to communicate with you, my dear audience. To understand the significance of appointment of a new commander-in-chief, we need to look at the differences that previous Minister of Defense and previous commander-in-chiefs had. So previous Minister of Defense, Mykhailo Fedorov, he is known as an innovator and a real technologically advanced person. So due to his experience in digital transformation, he, at his role as a Minister of Defense, was concentrated on bringing in and implementing innovation into Ukrainian army, into army procurement, into strategies and different asymmetric steps that can be taken. For example, disconnecting Starlinks for Russians is one of those asymmetric steps. So he was concentrated on everything new and on any sort of digitalization and technological improvements that can be there. On the other hand, Alexander Syrsky is known as a conservative military leader. He had an experience, same as Russian military leaders during the Soviet Union, and he also was fighting by the very classic rules. And in reality, you need the balance of both, because the drones cannot fight by themselves. You have to have people who will be running them and operating them, but you also have to have this classic warfare that allows you to liberate villages and cities, that allows you to stand against Russia. So we cannot decrease the influence and the achievements of Alexander Syrsky. However, this clinch of the worldviews happened, and this is why, according to President Zelensky, Minister Fedorov was dismissed. Of course, there are discussions and speculations that Minister Fedorov was becoming very popular, and this is why he was dismissed. I think it makes sense, but right now we need still to see how President Zelensky will finish resolving this situation. As of right now, thinking and looking at the protests at the streets, President Zelensky decided to change commander-in-chief. And he changed this really conservative Alexander Syrsky to Mykhailo Drapatyi. Mykhailo Drapatyi is also Ukrainian hero, military leader, and he has been fighting since a long time ago, and he was very known since 2014, when he was breaking down the siege of Mariupol. And you probably have already seen this video, but I will repeat it here, of him running through the enemy's lines and showing them how Ukrainians can fight. Mykhailo Drapatyi is this newer, more advanced, younger, and perhaps more innovative type of Ukrainian commanders that have received the majority of their experience during the war with Russia. And so there is a hope that he will be more adaptive to the innovations that we really need. So we wish Mr. Drapatyi all the best. We are very proud of him. He is incredibly popular both amongst Ukrainian civilians and amongst Ukrainian military. But the question remains the same, is who will be the Minister of Defense. As of right now, the previous head of Ukraine's internal service is temporarily appointed as a Minister of Defense. And this is why people remain at the streets, because they demand that Minister Fedorov is returned. Honestly, having Minister Fedorov together with Mr. Drapatyi would be a dream team, and it would be a huge thing for Ukraine. I think current temporary Minister of Defense with Mr. Drapatyi also can work very well. And they all are really patriotic, energetic, innovative, great guys, and they all have the future of Ukraine in mind. But the question remains, why would President Zelensky act so unfairly with Mykhailo Fedorov, who did so many things for Ukrainian military and for Ukrainian defense? There is also a practical thing, that when we are thinking replacing ministers, it's not just one person, it's the whole ministry, or at least a couple of levels of people who came to work with one minister who may not remain to work with another one. And we need to give a new appointee ability to choose his own team. But it takes time, and we are desperately out of time. This is why I honestly, personally, strongly support returning Minister Fedorov. However, there is another side of these things, and I want you to also understand them. So Minister Fedorov, Mr. Mykhailo Drapatyi, and Mr. Khmara, current appointee for defense ministers, they are all really popular amongst people. However, they were required to do certain things that were supported by people. They are fighting Russians, they are purchasing drones, they are innovating, they are figuring out different ways and conducting all those fantastic military operations. However, there are things that are required both from Minister of Defense and Commander-in-Chief that are critically unpopular. For example, fixing mobilization. So when I look at all of them shaking hands, my biggest question is, gentlemen, who will be responsible for the unpopular things? Who will be responsible for removing the amount of people who are right now are exempt from serving the army? We need to do that. Who will be responsible for figuring out what we do at the Stafford's cases where people are serving since 2022 and there is no end in sight for them? And that is something that will be clearly unpopular with Ukrainian people, and somebody needs to take a lead on that. According to the law, it's responsibility of both of them, and I guess we will see what's going to happen next. But people at the streets are still demanding Mr. Fedorov to be returned back, and within the next couple of days, we will see what's going to happen. During the negotiations, from what we have heard, President Zelensky offered Minister Fedorov different positions in the government that will allow him to continue working. However, it was not the position of Minister of Defense. It's a tough spot for President Zelensky because basically the streets and Ukrainian people demand him to acknowledge mistake. President Zelensky is not known to be very good, and I think there is not too many politicians in the world who are very good in acknowledging their mistakes and rolling things and decisions back, especially when it can be seen as a weakness by their political opponents. And though there are no elections in sight, President Zelensky is already thinking about what future election cycle would look like. And especially that the recent polling that happened yesterday was showing that Mykhailo Fedorov's trust and ratings obviously skyrocketed. This is very emotional, we understand it, but these things are being very touchy subjects right now at the president's office. Meanwhile, there is lots of international work, and one of the reasons why I'm in DC right now, it's before the Senate recess, which will happen at the beginning of August. There is a Russia sanctioning bill that was submitted by Lindsey Graham, may he rest in peace, and supported by more than 60 senators that will put additional tariffs on Russian and everybody who is trading with Russia. So, for example, if India is trading with Russia, they will be tariffed 500%. So, for $100, for $100 item that will be sold in the United States, they will have to pay additionally $500 of fees. I think that would be a very strong message to everybody who is supporting Russia's war machine to stop doing that. And this is why we are working together to push forward and make sure that this bill hits the floor, and then it will go to the House of Congress, and then President Trump will be able to sign it. I'm very optimistic, honestly, because President Trump said a couple of times that he is ready to do it. And second thing is that this is a legacy of Senator Lindsey Graham, and I think out of respect to him, we have a chance to rally the support. I will keep you posted, and thank you so much, and glory to Ukraine.